Hope you guys are doing awesome. All right, so today I'm going to be answering some of the top fertility nutrition questions that I get. So these have been coming in over the last week, and also I've included a couple that over the last 14 years that I answer very commonly. So if you end up having any fertility questions as I'm talking, you can put them in the chat in the comments below, and I will answer them if they're on topic. So if they're about fertility nutrition, I will answer them. All right, so for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Heather Rodriguez. I'm a fertility specialist. What does that mean? That means that I am an herbalist and nutritionist who's been working with women for over 14 years. And I really focus in on how to have optimal hormonal health, how to prepare the body for conception, how to overcome different fertility issues by supporting the body in its healthy functions. And nutrition is a big part of that. So I talk about nutrition a lot, because that's the only way our body is getting new inputs is from what we're consuming, right? So supplements are great for that, herbs are great for that, but nutrition is a big part of that. All right, so here are some of the top natural fertility nutrition questions that I get, and I'll go ahead and jump right in and get started. All right, so the first is, which foods are most important for egg health? So here are some of the topics I'll cover. I'll go over this real quick. The most important foods for egg health, my thoughts on cold foods and a cold uterus, my thoughts on keto, if you're experiencing anemia, what should you do? Organic foods, the importance of that, meal planning, recipes, PCOS, and IVF prep. So those are some of the questions I'll be answering. All right, so the first one is, which foods are most important for egg health? So there's a couple different things here. So when you're working on egg health, you need to prepare ahead of time. I have so many women that reach out 2 weeks before their IVF or IUI, 3 weeks, a month before their IVF and IUI. You really need to prepare ahead of time, because to actually have a chance at impacting the health of your egg, minimum 90 days, right? So the cycle of an egg is 90 days. Most of that time, there is not a point where you can have an impact on the health of your egg up until then. At that point, your eggs are being exposed to the environment within your body. So you can help to protect them from free radical damage, supply them with nutrients that helps to increase the energy of the cell, and so forth. So that's why it cannot be a short-term thing that's like 2 weeks, okay? So when you're working on egg health, minimum 90 days. Same for sperm health. Sperm production is about 72 days, but I just say 90 minimum, right? So what you're doing right now impacts the egg that's being ovulated. All right, so with that being said, because there's no get anything quick here, right? Especially when it comes to natural therapies. So for egg health, one of the most important things is gonna be eating foods high in antioxidants. I'm a broken record with this because it's true. Antioxidants make the biggest difference for two different reasons. The first is that they protect the egg from free radical damage. So free radicals can damage the DNA and and fragment the DNA within the egg. They can also just break down, they can just cause damage over time with exposure over time. So antioxidant-rich foods are going to be fresh fruits and vegetables. Specifically, berries are some of the highest, pomegranates are some of the highest, wolfberries are some of the highest. Those are going to be really important. Now, antioxidants are not stored in the body, so they have to be consumed on a daily meal-by-meal basis. I do definitely am a huge advocate for also supplementing with antioxidants. A couple different things you can do for that. Check out Fertilica Choice Antioxidants. That blend is specific for fertility and egg health support. CoQ10, Fertilica CoQ10 is another one you can find in my shop. Tons of studies about CoQ10 for egg health. All of these are found in food, yes, but not in the quantity you can get from supplementation. Okay, so those are some of the foods most important for egg health. Another aspect of egg health is reducing inflammation. So a lot of different foods that are processed, hydrogenated oils, high sugar diets cause added inflammation within the body. There's been lots of studies out with a connection between failure of IVFs and high amounts of anti-inflammatory compounds found in the blood. So there's some studies on that. You can go check it out. There's articles on my website if you want to get into that. So reducing inflammation where we can. You do that with antioxidants. Okay, next question. What are your thoughts on cold foods and uterine health? I get asked this a lot. So for those of you who have not heard of this before, in traditional Chinese medicine, if you're working with like an acupuncturist or a traditional Chinese medicine herbalist, totally different than what I do. I'm what's called a Western herbalist. That was my training. There's a part of how they look at the body where the uterus is cold, and they want to have you only eating warm foods, increasing warmth to the uterus. Now, that is definitely valid, but there's many, many different ways to have success with fertility. And for me, my ways, the ways that when I work with women is I want what's simplest that can fit in your lifestyle, that you can do long enough to get the results that you need. So I personally just don't worry about that. But I approach it from a different way. I'm very into increasing circulation to the reproductive system. So in a way, it's very, very similar. But I don't believe that you drinking smoothies is going to be negative to your fertility whatsoever. The amount of nutrients that you can put into a smoothie is incredible. If you don't want a cold smoothie, use room temperature fruit. It's very simple. So don't overcomplicate this, I think, is actually my bigger answer to that. Make this simple. Make it something you can do on a daily basis. You want this to be something you can do for months on end, okay? What are some foods that can help thin your blood besides baby aspirin? I have a total of 8 losses now and I have low progesterone, no blood clotting factors. So I personally would actually not use foods for this. This is a little bit more serious than something I would just be using nutrition for. If this was personally happening to me, I would work with an immunological reproductive endocrinologist who specializes in immune type and blood type issues for fertility. That's much more serious than something I would just use nutrition for. But foods high in vitamin K are known to thin the blood, which is found in a lot of dark leafy green vegetables. I'm preparing my body for embryo transfer in October. I have to look at the date. Let's see, how far are we? What food should I prioritize for my uterus? Good reception and for good implantation. Awesome question, Christy. I love that. So preparing for embryo transfer. So when I'm working with women who are preparing for any type of transfer, frozen, fresh, does not matter, is I really focus in on uterine lining health and preparing your body as if you're going to be pregnant right after your procedure, because statistically you will be. So for uterine lining, I definitely focus in on making sure you're getting enough protein. You don't have to eat crazy amounts of protein, but being aware that you're getting enough protein, that you're getting enough iron, you're doing well with your iron stores, and then things to increase circulation to the uterus. So I love self-fertility massage. I love castor oil packs, those types of things to increase the circulation to prepare for receptivity. Another thing that I love to do is there's a couple of other supplements that I like to use. One is called Utericalm. This makes the uterus very calm. Utericalm, and it makes it very receptive. So this is a gentle formula that can be used in early pregnancy. Of course, talk with your doctor about it, show them the formula, but these herbs have been used traditionally for thousands of years for this purpose, where it makes the uterine muscles very calm and relaxed. So nice, receptive. There's a couple of supplements like I was talking about I like to use. One is called Ningxia Red. This is a very high antioxidant supplement that has a lot of polyphenols. And I like that because of the nutritional profile. I also would definitely be either using a formula or a multi-nutrient, or it's not a formula, a prenatal vitamin or a multi-nutrient formula. So getting as many nutrients as you can and acting like you're going to be pregnant, basically. So a little bit different when you're preparing for transfer. I have some articles on the website if you want to check those out as well that go into more detail. But those are the two things that I like to do. Any foods to help increase SHBG and lower cortisol. I have PCOS irregular cycles. So when it comes to cortisol, nutrition, honestly, nutrition is not my approach. I use other types of therapies. I love to use essential oils to reduce cortisol. There's a supplement that I love that's been incredible for my clients that I'm working with that are under high amounts of stress, and having high cortisol is affecting their thyroid, their endocrine system, and their hormone balance. So honestly, I don't use foods for that. I'm sure there are foods that are going to be helpful. You want to make sure you have enough essential fatty acids and that you're keeping your blood sugar levels balanced by having meals that have fiber, protein, fat, and not eating added sugars. Those types of things can definitely be helpful, but that would not be my only approach, just to be, very straightforward with you. All right, so if you guys have questions, you can put them in the chat below. Is there anything nutritional that could cause a 50-day gap between cycles? So when it comes to a missing period, there are a couple of different reasons a period might be missing. Some are nutritional deficiencies, some are based on stress, some are based on hormonal issues. So it depends on what the cause is. So whenever I'm working with someone who has a missing period and it's definitely not menopause, like you have not started menopause, I generally would approach it from all directions, making sure to eat a nutrient-dense diet that has enough iron in it, vitamin C in it, fiber, those types of things that support hormonal health. I also would probably do a fertility cleanse and reduce sugar from the diet. In addition to that, I would also add herbs, self-care therapies to increase circulation to the uterus. And then if you do have stress in your life, doing something to really deal with and work through your stress. So I'm the girl, you're not going to get one simple pill from or one simple answer, but with these lifestyle changes and approaching it in this way, you get a lot of different benefits, and we're addressing the root cause. What can I do to clean my system to get pregnant fast? So it doesn't work like that. Like I just said, there's nothing that works fast. I'm all about, first of all, where are you hormonally? Fertility charting is fantastic to know where you are. So if you have not been getting pregnant, so this is for someone who's been 6 months or longer, start fertility charting. Let's see where you're at. Let's see what's happening with your hormones. If you just started trying to conceive, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it yet. All right, lots of great questions coming in. You're welcome, Christy. Feel free to reach out too if you need more explanation on that, some specifics on supplements. What's the best vitamins to take when trying to conceive? So it completely depends on what's happening with you. That's way too broad, and I don't know enough or anything about you in order to give a broad answer to that. Prenatals, multivitamins, of course, for anyone is always a great idea to start. Okay, so the next question. So another common one I get is about keto. And I think that obviously it's because keto is so hot right now, right? Everyone's doing keto. So I personally am not huge into keto. I know there's a lot of people that are. I know there's a lot of people working in the hormonal niche category, the same as I do, that do like keto. I personally, from the women I've directly worked with that have been doing keto, I find that for some women, it can actually cause more hormonal issues than not. I also don't like entire food groups getting cut out. So my focus is really flooding the body with nutrients, preparing the body for pregnancy, overcoming nutritional deficiency, supporting the endocrine system through nutrition and hormonal health. That can't happen when you're restricting certain food groups. So if you're restricting carbohydrates, there's so many things you get from foods that contain carbohydrates. They don't just contain carbohydrates. So fruit, yes, they contain carbohydrates. It's a great source of energy, but they also contain fiber and micronutrients like polyphenols, antioxidants, so many different things that are really important for functions and for healing and supporting the body. So I'm not about that. Other people might be, if that's an avenue you want to go, then find a practitioner that works with that, and they've got a specific reason that you're doing it. But keto was designed as a specific therapeutic diet. And now, it's turned into this way for people to lose weight. So in my mind, if you're wanting to work on hormones and you're wanting to help support specific issues or imbalances happening with you, losing weight being your first goal is not ideal, right? Healing and supporting the body, in my mind, is more important than we can focus on the weight loss. All right, tons of questions coming through. What is my recommendation for someone who is not ovulating? So I would start. So my recommendation for someone who's not ovulating, I have something called the 5 pillars. You can go to my website, naturalfertilityinfo.com. And on there, you're going to, if you scroll down to go to the homepage and scroll down, or on my Instagram, it's in my profile, you're going to want to click on the 5 steps to take for fertility health. What that is my 5 pillars, and it goes to all the foundational things to do to support your fertility. So if someone's not ovulating, this is where I start with them, because there's a lot of different reasons someone might not be ovulating. Sure, someone might be like, okay, I'm going to go take Vitex because I'm not ovulating. It might not be helping you specifically for the reason you're not ovulating. Some women don't ovulate because they don't produce enough estrogen. Vitex isn't going to help with that. So trying to figure out the reason of what's happening, and then this foundational health, so that's cleansing, nutrition, protecting yourself from endocrine disruptors, those are all going to have the better impact than trying to just take one specific thing. Yes, it totally does work for some people, but there's an underlying reason. The not ovulating is the tip of the iceberg of what's happening within your body and with your hormones. What fertility cleanse do I recommend? So if you go to naturalfertilityshop.com, it's called the Fertility Cleanse. It's the only one available. It's a cleanse that I created 14 years ago. We recently, in the last year, reformulated part of it. And yeah, that's one place that I start a majority of the women that I work with. Initial labs between my partner and I are normal, but I've been trying for 7 months. My cycle is very regular, and I'm cycle charting. Anything you recommend? So since you are fertility charting, you'd really want to look at your chart and see what's going on. How is the first half of your cycle? How long is that? Do you have low temperatures during the first half of your cycle? And then are you ovulating? And when are you ovulating? And then what is the second half of your cycle like? So I'm going to be teaching a class in 2 weeks on fertility charting and how to read your chart and know what it is telling you. So I'm all about empowerment so that you have your own tools. Yes, you can get testing done, of course, see specialists, but charting can tell you so much and give you so much insight. So since you're already charting, what is your chart telling you? So if you've been trying for that amount of time, your partner's been tested, you've been tested, you come back normal, really interested in seeing kind of what's happening there. And then also other signs. Do you have a lot of cramps? Do you experience PMS? Do you get night sweats? Do you have low libido? Those types of things. How's your sleep? How's your stress? Some of these other aspects that give insight to what's happening. So there's not obviously a specific thing I can say because everybody is different and I don't know anything about you. But by looking at your chart, you can tell a lot about where to start. Also, with testing that you have done, have you had full testing done? So some people will say, all testing's done, it's come back fine. And then I ask, did you get your thyroid tested? And they say, yes. But I'm like, okay, what did you test? Oh, TSH. Did you test for antibodies? Did you test for T4, T3 conversion? No. So sometimes not every rock is turned over. Is that the saying? I'm so good at ruining sayings. If you want a saying ruined, ask me to say it. Anyways, has every rock been turned over? Or, have you really been able to look at all the aspects? And a lot of times, yes, that has happened. So if it's truly unexplained, everything's coming back fine, I focus in on the 5 pillars. That's one of the reasons I created them, is because there's always can be something that's underlying. Like, people really don't understand the effect that stress can have on hormonal health. How high cortisol can have your body redirecting all of what it needs to produce hormones to be producing stress hormones. People don't understand how much gut health has an effect on hormonal production and conversion for thyroid hormone. All these, and why would you? It's like, there's so much to worry about, like, how would everyone know these things? So that's why I talk about them and teach about them. So yeah, we might talk about gut health and you're like, what does this have to do with my thyroid? Well, it has a lot to do with your thyroid, even though they're very far apart, right? So I know that's kind of a loaded answer to your question, but I would look at the charting. I would start with the 5 pillars. You can opt in through since you're on Instagram, you can opt in through my link in my bio. And that really starts to break it down into different areas to focus in on. Do I think a diet can bring down TSH without medication? Honestly, no, I don't. For some women, it does, depending on what the cause is, what the issue can be. But when it comes to thyroid, it's not black and white. So there's a lot of different things happening with the thyroid. So TSH is just one measurement of what's happening with your thyroid. There's also how your body is converting T4 to T3. That's a major factor. There's also an autoimmune factor if the body is actually attacking itself, attacking your thyroid. And gut health plays a really big role. So yes, you could be eating fantastic and eating all the great things, but if your gut health is suffering and you're having a lot of issues there, that's a factor. If you're having a lot of inflammation because of the type of diet you're eating, that's a factor. If there's actually something happening in the hierarchy of your endocrine system, that's a factor. So it's not so simple as eating perfect and having the perfect diet and all of that. That's why I educate so much on the different systems and how these systems work. So the thyroid is part of a larger system called the endocrine system, and there's communication factors that need to happen for anything to even happen with the thyroid. And sometimes these higher communication systems, these higher endocrine glands, are the ones that are being affected, and they're never being looked at or addressed. So overall endocrine health is important. Something that really affects that is heavy metals. And I'm actually gonna be teaching class in like couple weeks, like a month away, about the endocrine system and going into that. But that's part of this micro exposure to toxins that I really do see affecting our hormonal health. Whereas so many people are really focused on, okay, my TSH levels, my estrogen, my progesterone, which is important, yes, but it's actually happening up here because of these exposures, these micro exposures to chemicals and heavy metals and endocrine disruptors and those types of things. So reeling it back to your actual question, if we're just focusing on, okay, I'm eating these foods, I'm getting iodine in my diet, I'm doing these things, that's really awesome. But there could be a whole nother layer to it that we're not seeing. And nutrition is definitely always a part of it. But I don't personally, the way that I work, I don't just work with nutrition. One time, two, I find that nutrition plus concentrated elements and different things that can help specific areas are important. I sometimes feel like my answers are so long. All right, let me see if I can do this without accidentally erasing the comments. Any suggestions for individuals going through IVF to increase odds and support a healthy pregnancy baby? Yeah, so my number one suggestion would be to prepare well ahead of time. I have an IVF checklist on my website that goes into every step to take to prepare. So for the best chance, I would be preparing 6 months ahead of time, if you like, ideal, right? Minimum 3 months ahead of time. I know a lot of you, by the time you find me or the time that you reach out, you're like going in next week. So, you know, that's where I would go. I would go and get that checklist, download that, and then take that step by step. Awesome. Thank you for holding these lives. They're informed. Great. I'm glad that you like them. How can you lower prolactin levels nutritionally if there is no pituitary mass? So that one's a little bit more complicated on what's happening. Like, why are you producing more prolactin? I would look into Vitex. Vitex has been shown through studies and use, I've seen some from people, to help to decrease prolactin. The only thing with Vitex is sometimes when you start on it, it's going to kind of feel like your cycle is getting more messed up, like your cycle's a little bit more off. It does regulate after that. It's just part of the process. Not every woman experiences that with Vitex. So in that case, it would be worth using, but I wouldn't use Vitex if I was already ovulating. Just a little side note about it. Okay, awesome. Well, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. I have a few more here that I'll answer before I hop off. All right, if I'm anemic, which foods should I focus on? So there's a couple different things with anemia. It's important to address your anemia if you are trying to get pregnant. It can be one of the main causes for luteal phase defect. It can be a cause of not ovulating. It can also affect your ability to have a healthy period, the uterine lining, those types of things. So definitely being able to, let me see if I can get these. I don't know how to get the comments down. Okay. It can definitely affect the ability to ovulate. So that's one of the biggest things to look at. If you're someone who has very heavy periods, a lot of times you're going to be anemic. So it's just this whole cycle, right? So there's a factor of whether or not you're able to absorb iron from vegetables and vegetable sources. So I love vegetables. I'm the biggest proponent of them. But what I personally found out was it was not absorbing the iron from plants as well as I did from meat sources. So that's something to consider. Also, gut health plays a role in being able to absorb iron, as does having enough vitamin C around for that absorption. So some women I talk with, they're just taking whatever iron from the store and they're getting very constipated. So if I were to take iron, and I did for a period of time, my levels are good now. I took a food-based iron. I really love Blood Builder from Mega Food. There's a lot of really good ones out there, but doing something that's food-based, you don't get constipated. And then I also was really aware of the foods I was eating that had enough iron, and I started taking digestive enzymes with those foods to make sure that I was digesting them well. So that's something to consider. My doctor says I'm producing too much estrogen. Do I have recommendations to lower my levels? Yes, I have an entire email series and checklist called Estrogen Dominant Checklist. So if you go to, what is the URL for that? Let me grab that for you real quick. It goes through everything that you need to do for that. Help your body. Because it's like there's things you can do to remove and help the body deal with it, but you also want to remove the cause of the excess estrogen dominance. All right, so I'm trying to figure out how to get this to you. Go to my website, naturalfertilityinfo.com, and type in estrogen dominance. Everything's going to be there. On that page, there'll be a opt-in for a checklist on, it's an estrogen dominance checklist on everything you need to do. Any supplements, foods, and remedies for fibroids? So when it comes to fibroids, you're definitely going to have to approach it in multiple ways, not just through nutrition, but nutrition is an important factor. So whenever something's growing in the body, that tends to mean that there is an excess of estrogen. Estrogen is an amazing hormone. One of its abilities is to increase and stimulate the growth of things. So that helps our eggs to mature for ovulation. It also helps to stimulate the uterine lining to grow, lots of amazing functions. But when we're getting an excess amount of of chemicals in our bodies that mimic estrogen, this can easily get out of control. And this stimulates the growth of things. So fibroids are something growing in our body and being stimulated to grow in our body that we do not want to be there. It's not normal for them to be there. So fiber is fantastic for helping the body to get rid of excess hormones, supporting the liver, cleansing the liver, lots of different herbs and things that you can do. But I would be eating as many whole foods as I could. I'd be eating a lot of antioxidants to reduce inflammation and drinking lots of water to help the body, but looking at all these other factors as well. So eating as clean as you can, 80-20 is ideal, and reducing the exposure to chemicals found in the home that mimic estrogen. Check out that estrogen checklist I just talked about as well on the website. And that's a really good place to start. Also, if you just go to my website and type in fibroids, you're going to see a whole checklist of everything to do beyond diet as well. Awesome. All right. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to hop off here in just a second. If I have a few small fibroids, will they necessarily grow larger if I get pregnant? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. They probably will if lifestyle changes aren't happening. All right, awesome, guys. Well, I'm glad you find this Q&A helpful. I've been getting so many awesome questions about nutrition that I wanted to cover. I didn't even cover half of them that I brought with me today's talk. So if you want to transition to a healthier way of eating for fertility, if you want to know how to do that, recipes for doing that, I know that's one of the biggest things that you guys want is how to and different recipes. You want to join my 21-day fertility diet challenge. That is something that's going to start on August 16th. And what that is it's 21 days together. We go through this as a group. There's a ton of awesome ladies that have already joined it. On the 16th, it begins. And what happens is each day there's a bit of fertility nutrition information that I share. So you're learning these different aspects of fertility nutrition in bite-sized pieces, something you can easily handle. And every single day of the 21-day challenge, you are getting recipes for the important 5. So I make it very simple for you to transition to a healthier fertility diet, getting the nutrients you need from food while you're also learning more about the supplements you can take, which superfoods are best, which multivitamins do I like, which protein powders, all these things that make this really easy. And the reason I'm doing a 21-day challenge is I found that if you can stick to the important 5 for 21 days, your taste buds begin to change, and eating these foods and eating healthier becomes so much easier because you've gotten over that period of time when you're really still craving a lot of the sugars or the processed foods that you may be eating. And you start feeling the benefits of the whole foods, the energy, the better sleep, the clearer skin. Some women have weight loss. Some women get tons more energy, so that you start to see these benefits, and then you're able to stick to this over time. So if you want to join that, the link is in my bio on Instagram. I'll put the link below here on Facebook and YouTube. You can just check that out, click on it. And if that's where you if you want to take it to the next level of getting going, join us on the 16th. All right. I hope you guys have an awesome day.